I am not an expert when it comes to bananas. I do not want to even pretend for a second that I am. I know that because I lived near an expert when I lived in Hawaii who, well, he taught me some things I've already forgotten more than, yeah. Anyway, I'm not an expert. I want this to be more of a dialogue because collectively in this group, there is a tremendous amount of knowledge. People have been doing a lot of reading. I'm out of breath from running. That's terrible. Anyway.
Thirsty.
That
sorry.
was a pineapple.
There.
Now it's fine.
So fixed. Sorry.
Go ahead.
What was I even saying?
Bananas.
You're an expert.
Oh, yes.
So kill your children.
So I'd like this to be more of a dialogue. I don't know everything. You might not know everything, but collectively we're going to know a whole heck of a lot more. So if you have something to add, if I say something that's incorrect, if you have ideas, please put them forth. The one thing is I think we really need to be careful about separating that which we have read or heard from that which we have experienced. Because something may be on the internet and it may absolutely be correct for one area of the world or one soil type or something specific, but may not be true for Southwest Florida. So if you've heard it or read it, please state that. If you've experienced it for yourself, please say that as well. Yeah, so bananas. Is a banana a tree?
No. Herb.
Oh, there we go. All right, so banana is an herb. So if you refer to banana as a tree, you're wrong.
Where did you read that?
I've experienced that.
No, you experience it as a tree. No, it looks like a tree. If it looks like a tree, it's a tree.
Yeah, so bananas. This is a dwarf namwa. One of the most important things about being successful with bananas in Southwest Florida is variety selection. I had a friend that went to Walmart recently and he picked up a couple bananas. And he was excited about these new bananas because he got them for $7.50 and it was a new variety he didn't have. He told me about them, I looked them up, and their cold hardiness was down to 60 degrees.
60? Wow.
So basically Walmart is selling banana plants that will die here. Like,
That's
are done.
Yeah.
No chance.
From November.
Yeah. So variety selection is absolutely
Son of a
paramount
bitch.
because most areas of Florida, you're going to get some frost some years. You're going to get, here on this piece of property, we get down to about 28 degrees. If I buy bananas that are only hardy down to say 35, 40, 50 degrees, they're done. So variety selection is paramount. Now, I have different varieties that I've experienced to be good and may be good. Now on flpermies.com, floridapermies.com, I've created a wiki. And this entire piece of paper right here, this article is going to go up there. And it's just like Wikipedia, where collectively we can edit this article and add information. So if you have varieties that you're like, gosh, I want to mention that, but I can't remember the name. If you've experienced or heard that varieties are good, add them up there. And then other people can read about that, and they can add additional information. And just collectively, we can create this amazing knowledge base for Southwest Florida. So, varieties that I know to work really well here. This is by far my favorite. Well, not by far, but this is my favorite. This is the Dwarf Namwa. Not only is he cold hardy, but in my opinion, it's a beautiful plant. You know, really attractive, extremely prolific. Believe it or not, this is only about 20 months old at this point. It started as a single plant about this tall 20 months ago. And since then, the main mother plant was provided a bunch of bananas. At that point, I chopped it down. And now we have this bunch. There was a bunch right here a few days ago that I cut down. There's 3 or 4 bunches on the other side. So it's a very prolific, high-yielding plant if raised correctly. Very cold hardy. It got down to about 34 degrees this winter, which it can obviously get a lot colder here. He didn't bat an eye. Just didn't think a second thought. The bananas are about this big or so. Absolutely delicious in my opinion. Now everyone's palate is obviously different, but it's got a little bit of a tart aftertaste. Oh, delicious.
Sweet and
Wonderful,
sour.
wonderful.
Is that what's on your porch?
It is, yeah. My second favorite is this one back here, which looks a lot like the Dwarf Namwa, and that's the ice cream banana. It's also quite cold hardy. It's a beautiful plant. It also produces small bananas. They're also absolutely delicious. In my opinion, a little bit of a vanilla aftertaste. Now, they're a phenomenal dessert banana in that you freeze them. You can eat them raw, and they're delicious, but you freeze them. That's going to be my addition to the potluck. So if you leave early, you don't get to try my ice cream banana dessert. The third banana I've had great success with is the Dwarf Orinoco. It's more of a cooking banana. They're all over the place. I have probably 14 of them, I think. And they're more of a cooking banana, though they can be eaten raw. They're kind of starchy. But
green banana.
you can make tostones out of them. I've taken them to the farmers market, and the Haitians and Jamaicans and Cubans, they'll buy them up in a heartbeat.
My husband cooks with green banana.
Oh, really?
Yeah, always.
And then you can also let them go right and still cook with them.
Yeah.
And I think you make them sweet or something like that. At
Like
that
a
point.
dessert more.
Yeah.
What was that third one you mentioned?
Dwarf Orinoco. Also very cold hardy, didn't bat an eye. Varieties that I have not been very impressed with. Now, obviously, it could be something I'm doing wrong, but I have the Dwarf Reds. Most red bananas are not going to be as cold hardy. They definitely only got to 34 here, and they definitely burned back a little bit. And then I have various varieties which may be good. I'm testing some of them. I'm testing the Goldfinger, the Pisang, Ceylon, and the Saba. And there's others that I've read that are supposedly cold hardy, but I can't comment about anything else. But I'll be acquiring them. But if you're looking for varieties, it just may be one of those starting points. Let's see, what do I want to talk about?
Varieties. May I add something here?
Please.
There's a new variety from China. It's called Mekong Giant, and you can grow it. In zone 6 hardiness, so 6 to 10, 6 to 11.
Really?
That's up to Massachusetts, Michigan, whatever, you know.
Wow.
It's
That's
zone 6. I think it's down to -10 or 0. I'm not sure.
And it's an edible. It's not ornamental.
Yeah, it is edible.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. I don't believe you, but I
Of
will.
course you don't.
But I hope you're right. I am definitely going to research that.
How tall are yours?
Sorry?
How tall are yours?
Oh, my bananas are small like this.
Your Mekong Giants.
Oh, I don't have any Mika. I just discovered them, so I have to order them online.
Okay.
It's cheap too. It's
Let
like
us know how it works.
$6, $7 online.
I'd like a couple if you want to get
Yeah.
together on that.
Yep.
And we'll put that out on FL Permies if anyone else wants to get it on the order. And then we can all blame Robert if he's wrong.
I would check out their disease factor first before
That's
I
a good
brought them
idea
in.
too.
You know, I wouldn't want to. I don't know. it's
Oh, it
kinda
doesn't
weird.
matter. We gotta try them anyway.
Well, everything.
I mean, it's $6. No.
No, I mean, she makes a good point. You know, it's kind of like the chestnut that we brought in from what was it? Somewhere in Asia that completely destroyed all the American chestnuts. So. Okay.
Oh.
Anatomy of bananas. I'm sure I will miss some things here. As always, I'm not an expert on the anatomy, but let's talk about it. So again, bananas are not trees. This is actually a pseudostem. Down in the ground is what's called the corm, and that's kind of where all the amazing stuff happens. That's where
The suckers come
genetics
from.
are or whatever. So this little guy right here, that technically that's called a sucker. I hope that we can refer to them as pups because
Oh, sucker
it
is
just sounds
cooler.
so much nicer.
Sucker.
So I propose that we call them pups. In Hawaii, we call them keikis. So this is attached to this mother right now, but it has its own corm as well. So you can actually propagate the banana by digging down, cutting out that, and I'm actually going to show you guys that in a little bit. So the leaf part, this part right here is the blade. This right here is called the midrib. Let's see, what else do we have? I cut all the flowers off. There should be a flower coming down. At this point, it would be a flower long.
So you can see them right there in the back.
Oh, yeah.
The long ones, that's going to actually be the male flower. When it's just coming out, that's the female flower. Sometimes you'll see, instead of the pup being right here, it'll actually be out over here, and that's because the banana's sent a rhizome. And there's a picture of all this stuff in your little guide on page 2. So, you know, this area right up in here is called the petiole, and you know, don't really need to know this stuff, but sometimes it's just nice to have that word knowledge that when we're talking about different diseases or nutrient deficiencies areas to look at.
What's the petiole? I see your picture, but
Yeah, so it should be like this area.
oh, okay.
All right, what else we got here we want to cover?
So I would think that's where disease would go into.
I don't know anything about banana diseases, so I wouldn't know.
So that's a good thing. They're really
So
important.
banana nutrition. So bananas, just like all plants, they have certain nutrients that they absolutely must have, and I actually have a list of all those: the macronutrients, the micronutrients, and then at the bottom on this guide, there's going to be the beneficial nutrients. You know, we go to Home Depot and we see the 10-10-10 fertilizer, and we're like, oh, I got my fertilizer, that's all I need. Not true. That 10-10-10, that's your nitrogen, that's your phosphorus, that's your potassium. You just don't like my pineapple, do you? But then you have your other macronutrients. You have your sulfur, your magnesium, and your calcium. If you don't have those in the amount that the banana needs, you're going to have bad luck. Then you have the trace elements as well. I mean, you go to Home Depot and you ask someone, hey, I need trace elements for my banana plant, they're going to look at you like, what? But it's absolutely critical that they have those in sufficient amounts. There's something called Liebig's, the law of the minimum, as it's also known as. So law of the minimum, basically, whatever nutrient you're most deficient in will stop the growth. So you can have all the nitrogen in the world, you can have all the potassium in the world, you can have all the phosphorus in the world, but if you're deficient in one of these trace elements, it doesn't matter. That's what's going to stop you from being successful. So you basically want to get everything in correct amounts. At the very back, there's a reference list, and I just want to point it out now because it's just this phenomenal guide I found. So the hyphagroup.org, if you go to that guide, they talk about nutrients in depth. It's just phenomenal. I don't want to, I'm not smart enough to memorize it all and give it to you guys. But if you're really into nutrients and really want to grow healthy bananas, then yes. Okay, so growing them. One of the most important things here in Southwest Florida, and one of the biggest mistakes people make, is they don't mulch. They plant on sand, they're like, oh, it's good for my citrus, it'll be good for my banana. Mulching is critically important. In Hawaii, my banana expert neighbor, he would literally put 2 feet of mulch around all his bananas. Just massive amounts of mulch. And not only are they slow release fertilizer, but they're also going to do moisture retention, they're going to promote fungal growth, they're doing all kinds of things. But it's also going to condition your soil a little bit. It's going to put organic material into your soil. And that's important because the most important nutrient for bananas is potassium. And potassium in sandy soils, not good. Potassium is usually an immobile nutrient, meaning that you put it in the soil and it kind of hangs out there, so you're good. In sandy soils, because of the charges, it takes off, it's gone. So basically, you fertilize bananas with all the potassium in sandy soil, they're probably not going to take up as much as they need. So you really want to put organic material in the soil so that the charges are correct, so that that potassium hangs out for the banana. So I did a lot of research on NPK amounts that bananas want. And obviously every variety is different, and every soil is going to be a little bit different. In general, the number that you're looking for, the ratio that you're looking for, is 1 part nitrogen to 0.5 parts phosphorus to 1.5 parts potassium. Meaning, if you went to Home Depot and you were like, I need some banana fertilizer, what you'd be looking for is something like 10, 5, 15. Now, obviously, what you're going to get from Home Depot is very likely going to be synthetic, so as permies, we hopefully don't really want that. But to each their own. Now, let's say that you want 1 pound of nitrogen per plant per